Happy New Year! Welcome or welcome back. My name is Haley. I am Someday Knits on YouTube and Instagram, and this is a knitting channel. Okay, so I thought for 2024 I wanted to kick off my podcast with kind of a check-in overall, like what's on my needles, what are my plans, what is my stash looking like. You get the gist, right? So let's hop straight into it. As always, we're gonna start with whips. We're gonna ignore my hair situation today. I put in too much heat protectant before I blow dried my hair, and if you know, you know. I didn't want to put in the time to flat iron it if I knew it was gonna come out messed up, so I just stopped. Anyway, we have a couple things. I think everything has made it onto the podcast and at some point in time, but I don't know when and where, so sorry about that. I'm gonna start off with this guy. This is the brim of a hat pattern that I'm working on. As you can see, she's really big. It is the Gepard Garn Eco Cashmere Vintage in the color dark brown. I don't have the ball band, but I believe it's like 180 or 181 dark brown. Anyway, it's a very, very deep chocolate, almost black, and I'm working on this like rib pattern as I've been really into the triple thick brims. That is my goal for this one. I also found that a lot of the hat patterns that I've purchased so far have been by designers that seem to not have that much hair. So even when I knit the largest size, it's still not the fit that I want in the end. I can get it over my head and stuff like that, but it just looks really funky. So for example, if it's a hat that's supposed to have like some extra on the top, because I have so much head and so much hair, the top will be like really tight and then just point, or the fit will be more snug, so that I end up with a lot of like marks on my forehead and it gets a little itchier. Things like that. This is also an issue I have with store-bought hats as well, so it's just kind of an issue in my life all around. So this guy is so big because I prefer a looser fit. I don't want the marks on my forehead, and I also don't like when this color's so dark you can barely tell, but I don't like when the ribbing looks super taut, like it looks stressed out, like it's about to pop. So yeah, there's not too much to say about this because I only have this much progress. I've been waiting for more yarn to come. I ordered online from Forever Yarn. I picked this up I picked this up in person, and I only got one hank because I had never tried it before, so I wanted to see if I even liked it, and I loved it. It's so soft, it's amazing, but it only comes in 50 grams, so I'm hoping to get the hat done out of 2 hanks, but I think it's probably unrealistic. And I'll need a third, which makes this a very expensive hat, but we're not going to get into that. I don't want to sacrifice like fit or design to try to get it into a certain amount of balls, because then I spent a lot of money on a hat I'm not using versus spending a little bit more money on a hat I use all the time. You feel me? That makes sense, right? So for our next whip, it's stuff everywhere. So next one, I'll do a quick little update. Surprisingly, I don't have that much on my needles right now, probably because I've run out of yarn for everything, but it is what it is. Shipping gets really slow in the holidays, so I mean, what can I expect? So tangled. Hold on. Okay, here we are. This is the pullover that I'm working on. You may recognize this as what should have been my Vlogmas design. Vlogmas was quickly abandoned for many reasons. One, it was hard to keep up with, if we're being honest, and the videos weren't even doing that well. They were getting like very little interaction, very little views, and I was already not that motivated to complete them because I had ran out of yarn. So the progress that I had originally imagined in my mind was not gonna happen, and so all that combined equals I gave up. Sorry, this is crazy tangled. Anyway, this is going to be a drop shouldery, saddle shoulder situation. I've decided to call this the cold water pullover. And there's just not much more to show for it. I am using this Kelborn Woolens Cricket. It is a gorgeous single ply tweedy number that is, I don't know if there's a real name for it, but it's like thick and thin. The ply is not exactly consistent. Some parts are really super thin, some parts are a little bit closer to like DK, but somehow it manages to knit up into a really gorgeous fabric. I don't have my swatch, so I'll just use the sweater. But when I was looking at it in a ball, I really thought the fabric was going to be super inconsistent, almost like is it like slug yarn or something like that? That doesn't sound right, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. But I don't know if it's the Cashmere Haze, the lace weight that I held with it, or if it's just the yarn itself. It makes a very consistent, really, really pretty fabric. I've been wanting a tweed garment for a long time, but I haven't been super stoked about the tweed options. I know everybody and their mom has a sweater in like the Peer Gynt tweed, but it was just something about it that didn't really speak to me. I think it was the super consistent tweediness. Like the tweed bits were in very specific colors, and it was kind of that same color over and over again, which in the end gives you a very uniform, like very nice fabric. But I just kind of wanted a more rough and tough looking tweed. I don't know if that's a good way to describe it, but I like how the tweed in this yarn, where did the ball go? The tweed in this yarn is kind of unpredictable. Like, there's so many different colors of bits. There's so many different sizes and shapes of the bits. Some are like long bits and you almost get this like marled twisty pieces, or some are just a little itty bitty bit, a tiny bit. And it's very similar to like Noro yarns, but I have found that I don't really like the not composure, not compensation, the composition. I don't really like the composition of a lot of the Noro yarns. They use a lot of kind of everything. Well, not all of them, but I find that the ones that I like the color of, I don't like what they're made of at the same time. And I just didn't feel the need to like find my perfect Noro. I just kind of nixed the whole line, which is rude of me. It's rude of me, but I just decided I would keep on living life, and eventually the tweed of my dreams would come around, and that is exactly what I got. It's 100% 100% merino. I do think it is non-superwash, but I haven't confirmed that, but I'm pretty sure it's non-superwash, which makes up for the single ply, because it'll felt. Not that I want to felt it, but superwash single plies that I have used before pill really, really bad. So I'm hoping that the non-superwash plus the lace weight aspect will reduce that quite a bit. Anyway, that was a long-winded way of saying that the cashmere haze that I was waiting on to continue working on this sweater is still in the mail. I still have not received it yet. I ordered it from Little Knits in Seattle, I think. So until that comes, that pullover is going to continue to look like that. And then the last whip on my needles is this raglan I'm working on that I have yet to pick out a name for. It is a kind of a rib medley, and then some cables that are alternating, catty corner, whatever you want to call it. I am using, oh, my mother-in-law got me this for Christmas. It's called a Yarn It, I believe. Yeah, it says Yarn It on the bottom. It comes with a silicone base and even like a wrist strap you can put in this hole right here. This thing is clear, so it's going to be really hard to see the details, but I've actually loved this so much. My preference as far as design, I have trouble finding in yarn accessories. So like, I don't want a yarn bowl that is the face of a cat or like a bumblebee. I just want something cool, and I haven't found it yet. So like the tweed, I've just been living my life waiting to find the perfect yarn bowl. I've been using just like bowls out of the kitchen. If I'm knitting somewhere like with a blanket or on carpet, somewhere that is kind of frictiony and my yarn doesn't spin as easily, like the ball. So she got me this for Christmas, and I feel like it is the most perfect thing ever. It just opens up, closes, nothing complicated, nothing fancy. You can thread your yarn through here and get it out, or I guess if you wanted something a little more permanent, you could pull your yarn out through there. But I think that's for if you want to like stick your needles into the holes when you're done working. But yeah, I'm pretty sure she got it on Amazon, and I have no idea how much it was because it was a gift. But I have loved this guy. It's also the perfect size for like, I have 2 yarns in here. But I will say, if you're going to put 2 yarns in it, they need to be center pull, because the tumbling from pulling from the outside just doesn't flow as well. You can do it if you want, but don't say I didn't tell you otherwise. So anyway, back to the sweater. I'm using the Woolfolk Snow. This is in the color 1+2. It is a, I don't even know what you call it, but it's a 2-ply where each ply is a different color. So that's the 1 and the 2. 1 ply is the color 1, 1 ply is the color 2. And then the Lang Cashmere Dreams in the only gray color they offer. I don't know, I don't remember the name of it. And I'm holding these double. I'm holding these double on 4mm needles because that is my happy place. And I've just kind of been bouncing all over the place. So I'm this far into the body. I'm working on one sleeve right now, and it is a scoop neck like this. It's like a V-scoop. I wanted it to be a little bit deeper. This isn't even blocked yet, and it is the softest, coziest thing ever. I almost wish I had a blanket in this yarn, but I don't like to knit blankets. I feel like crocheting them is way faster, and also this would probably be the most expensive blanket in the world. But one day when I'm rich. Anyway, so I was originally going to use this combination for like a really basic stockinette raglan design, and I had swatched for stockinette and everything, and I started knitting it up. I even put it on my stories for a little bit, and I have just been at a place in my knitting life where stockinette is the most boring thing ever. This, I think, was able to keep me somewhat entertained because the construction is so different. It's nothing I've ever seen or worked on before. But even like this is a lot of flat stockinette. And I think having to purl does give me a little something something, since it's each row is different. But this I started in the round very early on. So the stockinette, I couldn't. I had gotten all the way through to where I split for sleeves and still decided to frog it because there was just no way it was going to be on the needles forever. So I just decided to add a little excitement to it. I think this is really cute. It's still very beginner friendly. The cables don't all happen at the same time, so you know, you cable here and then you knit all the way here and you cable here, and then you don't, the cables themselves are also pretty far apart, so you get a lot of rows in between as far as a break, and all the cables are also the same direction, so you don't have to worry about any of that. But I'm just very excited to see where this is gonna go. I am a stickler for details, so I will tell you in advance that I did the most. I did the absolute most because I loved the look of this 2x1 ribbing on the collar, and I wanted every 2-stitch rib line, to line up all the way around the neck. Obviously this section is a little different, but still you get the vibes. I wanted them all, oh my gosh, this string, all to flow seamlessly into the collar. So I had to do quite a bit of work on the first round of the collar to ensure that, and it's going to be a doozy to write up and an even bigger doozy to grade. So it might be a minute before you see this one. I'm sorry. But I really love this detail. I think it just adds a super like professional, just yummy quality to it that I would want to write up. It's something I do want to take the effort to make sure that detail tracks, especially through every size, because I think it makes it super polished. Not that there's even like a long line of people waiting for this design, but anyway, you know, I just feel like it would be rude of me to not include it. So that's really the only holdup. Also, getting the pattern to continuously line up under the arms, but also I don't know. I've graded one pattern in my life, and it was for socks. So really it all comes down to the fact that I'm just not 100% sure what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go. I just know that if I put it out, no, when I put it out, I want it to be of the highest quality and a positive representation of my, you know, design style, whatever you want to call it. And that's all I actively have on my needles right now. Isn't that impressive? I've been doing a lot of swatching because I feel like 2024 is going to be the year of designs for me. Not solely, because there's designs out there that I must have and I will knit. But I just have so many ideas in my head, and I've gotten to a place where I feel like I'm fully capable of getting them out into the world. Whether or not people will want them, I'm not sure, you know. I just gotta wait and see and hope and pray. But I do feel it in my heart to move in that direction. So a lot of my time has been spent swatching. I don't know really what the rules are about showing stuff before it's like complete. I would like to think that nobody's just gonna up and steal my ideas, but I guess you never know. But just as a little glimpse of what's to come, how do we want to set this up? Okay, so let's start with a hat that I do have finished. So this is my Hidden Scraps beanie. I have made this out of scrap yarn and hedgehog fibers. Oh so fine in the color Sugar. You may recognize this color from when I made headbands, weekend headbands for my mother-in-law and my grandmother-in-law and my daughter. I made a lot. And I ordered some more because I loved the color and the way it knit up, and the two hanks that I got were completely different vibes. The purples, the speckles are much more prominent, and it's a lot less pastel and a lot more neon. Like, I feel like the neon yellow comes out a lot in this hat, whereas the other hank that I got was mostly like baby blue. So I was a little disappointed in that, but that's the way hand-dyed yarn goes, you know. Anyway, this is a 1x1 ribbed beanie. I will try it on for you. So again, I wanted to accomplish the fit issues as mentioned on the other hat. So as you can see, this is much more gradual as far as coming to a point. And that's just because it's larger and it doesn't have to like stretch as far. And the ribbing, if it'll focus, the ribbing is not screaming at me, you know. So yeah, so far I love it. I also made it long enough in the hat for if it's like super cold outside and I want it to cover my ears and stuff. And again, triple thick brim, also super wide, which I love. I just love a good chunky hat. And then I hope it'll show on camera, but I just really love the way the decreases came out. There's a lot going on as far as color, so I do feel like I have to make a neutral sample, but I tried to line them up so it almost made like a little pinwheel in the middle, and the ribbing, like I saw the ribbing through to the very end, and I think it just came out really cute on top, especially if you wear it all the way down, like over your ears, then it looks cute on the top of your head, all stretched out. So yeah, the ribbed beanies that I've made, my battery's about to die. The ribbed beanies I've made in the past had a part in the pattern where you just kind of forget about the ribbing and just, you know, knit everything together, and then like you rapidly decrease to close the top, but it's all knit stitches. So you end up with almost this like nipple that I really despise. So yeah, I wanted to avoid the nip. I just wanted it to be super polished, as always. I just love a good polished finish. And then I called it the Hidden Scraps beanie because I use scrap yarn for all the invisible parts of the hat. So like I said, this is hedgehog fibers held double. One hank is $40. This is 125 grams completed. So that would have been $80 for a neon colorful speckly gorgeous, but not the most wearable, in my opinion, item in my wardrobe. $80. And it's also just merino, you know, it's not even cashmere. So in my personal preferences, okay, don't scream at me, that doesn't make sense. So I decided to right away to take advantage of scrap yarn so that you can get even the largest size, because when I write it up, there'll be one size bigger just in case. You know, somebody could have more hair or an even bigger head than me. I doubt it, but maybe. So even that size can be made out of 100 grams of the visible color, whatever color you want to be visible. So it's fingering weight held double. And I just wanted to kind of cut the cost down, you know. So now out of the 2 hanks of this that I bought, I will be able to get 2 adult hats for sure, but maybe even a baby hat out of 2. I'll get almost 3 hats versus 1 hat out of 2 hanks, right? So I just thought that was a nice little way to kind of make a 1x1 ribbed beanie a little bit different, because there's a ton out there. So I wanted it to really serve a purpose. And yeah, so that's why I called it the Hidden Scraps beanie. And I'm going to start writing this up tomorrow. It is January 2nd. So January 3rd, I will start writing this up, and I'm hoping that this will be out this month. That sounds good. I did put it up on my Instagram, and I was really happy to see such a positive welcoming, I guess you should call it. I was nervous about hat season kind of being over. I don't know why in my head like the year ending was like winter ending, but I guess it's not really. But yeah, I did get quite a few comments saying that hat season is far from over, so I should definitely still try to pursue it. And there was a couple people that even said they would be interested in this pattern specifically. So I'm gonna do the work and I'm gonna get it out there, and this will be my first pattern release. As far as what the rest of the year is looking like for me, one thing I really want to have accomplished this year is this blanket. This is the Bernat Forever Fleece Finer in the color Raspberry Sorbet or Raspberry Razzle Dazzle. It's something like that. And I had originally started this linen stitch blanket that has made an appearance on the channel somewhere, definitely on my Instagram. But as you can see, this colorway has a tendency to do one of two things. You get this beautiful, like, kind of zigzaggy pooling, or you get this stripy pooling, and it is very hard to control, which I don't mind. Like, just for a blanket, that's fine and dandy. But this is ooh, I can almost fit it in the screen. It's quite wide. It's not all the way like as wide as my arm wingspan, and it's taking forever. The linen stitch goes very slow. You knit into the holes of the row before. This is crochet linen stitch, by the way. You knit into the holes of the row before, so each row you only gain half a row in height. And this is already not quite as large as I like my blankets to be. So I think I'm going to, no, I know I'm going to frog this, and I think I'm going to turn it into a join as you go granny square blanket, but I'm not 100% sold on that yet. Only because I love the fabric of the linen stitch. Like, it feels really, really dense. It has a lot of good drape, and granny stitch just performs a little bit differently. I've made a granny square blanket for my brother out of this exact same yarn, just in a blue colorway, and I did like it a lot. So I know it won't be the worst, but I do love this. So that's the only part that that's the only speed bump, I guess. I really have to think of a solid plan, like maybe a linen stitch square blanket. I think the biggest difference is that when you do the squares, you just feel like you're doing a lot more. And there's a lot more checkpoints along the way. It's similar to knitting in stockinette. I've realized that I'm the type of person where I need something to look forward to at all times, and I need them to be relatively close together, because if they get too far apart, then I no longer have anything to look forward to in my mind. I don't know. But something about making the squares just gives me a constant checkpoint, and I need that. So maybe linen squares, or maybe just granny squares to really get it done. But I do want to finish that blanket this year because the yarn is so dreamy. It feels so good. It's warm and soft, but light. I do make a lot of super heavy, like, weighted blankets. So this would be something different for me that I kind of want, because they're easier to put in the washing machine and they're easier to carry around the house. Like, a lot of the blankets I've crocheted for myself and family are extremely heavy. It doesn't even make sense. So I want it bad, but I need a game plan. And then as far as knitting, a pattern that I've already purchased that I want to make is the pearl sweater. This is so dark. Okay, you can kind of see it. It is a 1x1 broken rib V-neck that is just perfect. It's perfect. I love it so much. I am terrible because I forgot the designer's name. I'm pretty sure it's Helen. And if it's not Helen, then I'm going to erase that part of the video. But I will put a picture of the pattern with the designer's name, and you two will see how gorgeous and stunning it is. It is just absolutely everything. I love her sample that she did in chocolate. It was the Isager, which I typed it into the Google, and apparently it's a sayer. It say yeah. That's how it said. That's how Google said it. So, yikes on that one. But Highland wool in chocolate and the silk mohair in coffee. I chose not to go with the Highland wool. It's something about Highland wool that scares me. It just screams scratchy. I'm not sure why. It's probably false. But I'm totally judging a book by its cover, and I didn't want to use it. So I went with the Woolfolk tined, not sure, and it is in the color number 20. Focus please. Which is the deepest, most beautiful purple red ever in life. I feel like it's so hard to find this shade specifically in yarns because it's so dark that it's almost black. So I don't know if maybe it's not worth it to people to make colors like this, but I had been searching for this color for a long time and finally found it in Woolfolk. And it's darker than like any Bordeaux or like, this is the chocolate of the Eco Cashmere Vintage. Like, this is a very, very dark purple. But I did pair it with, oh, and because this was so dark and amazing, I didn't want to lighten it up at all whatsoever with a, like, whatever lace weight I held with it. All the like eggplant, Bordeaux, mulberry, they just weren't dark enough. So I decided to go with the coffee, the Isager Silk Mohair in the color coffee that was suggested by the designer. And together they make this black hole of fabric that's so stunning. Obviously, like, none of these details are going to pick up on camera. Honestly, they're hard to pick up in real life, but I just have it set in my mind that this is going to be one of those fabrics that comes to life when you wear them outside in the sun. So this is one thing I do want to have accomplished for 2024. Ideally, like, this winter, but I don't have the sweaters quantity yet, so I can't knit it if I don't have the yarn. But that's a game plan I'm not pivoting from, and that is a design not by me. So as far as what I want to put out into the world, I really don't have that much, but I do have a couple. And if you take these from me, like Kim would say, I'm not going to threaten you on the internet. So I have the raglan and the pullover, obviously, and then I have 3 more sweaters that I would like to take from my mind and put into the world. And these are them. So this is just a stockinette swatch of the focus, Biches and Bouches, another brand I don't know how to say. La Petite Lambswool in light pink violet, and La Bien-Aimée Little Kumo in anemone. I did this last time. I don't think the stockinette is gonna stay. I like to do stockinette to make sure I like the fabric, and then pattern swatch to make sure I like the design. So that raglan took 2 swatches. So I don't have a second swatch for this guy yet. And then I have this little number. And this was my like sketchbook. I just use scrap yarn sometimes to work things out. So I did this on 4mm needles, and then I decided what yarn combo I want to use, which is the Durham Natura Penelope and their mohair. I think it's called like Berenice or something. and this is the color Petite Matin, which is a super, super pale dusty blue. And I decided to go with 4.5 overall. Look at this. This is 0.5 millimeter difference in needle size. Same stitch count, same row count. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, this cable-y design is a little more intensive and a little more frequent, so I definitely wanted to size up so that it wouldn't be such a drag. But I do feel like the overall sweater is going to be gorgeous enough and enticing enough that I'll have the motivation to finish it. And then lastly, I have this little stripey number, which is also out of the Durare Natura Penelope in the color Orgeat, Avion, and Tutu, I believe. It's a French brand, so the names are usually in French, but I've really been loving this Penelope. It is a non-superwash 90-10 blend of merino and silk, but it is DK weight, or it might even be a worsted weight. It's quite plump and thick, as you can see. I'm not the best at just looking at stuff and knowing the weight. This guy's pretty thick. I just know that I can knit this on 4mm needles alone and get a nice dense fabric. So yeah, if that tells you anything, there you go. So these are the 3 main things that I want to work up this year. I have a design in mind for this yarn combo, but I haven't swatched up the design swatch, so I don't want to speak on anything and then have to backtrack. Oh, I have one more thing on my needles that must get off in a quickness. I know. This is the second of my Friday night socks by Northwoods Knit Co. that I started in October. I think I started it like the first day of Socktober, and I'm almost there. The progress on these is so slow because I almost never pick them up. I have knit these socks almost entirely in the airport or on planes. I did a ton of traveling this year, so that was really beneficial for this pair of socks. But other than that, I don't think I've picked them up since the last time I was on an airplane. I'm using Rorschach. No, the color is Rorschach. I'm using Suburban Stitchers sock yarn in the color Rorschach. It is scraps left over from my son's Monday Sweater Baby, maybe? Or maybe it was Monday Sweater Junior. Surprisingly, I was able to knit that entire sweater, and I will have knit this full pair of socks and still have yarn left over out of 300 grams, because I do remember it being like sold out, so I had to get whatever she had left, and I was looking to make a sweater for myself, so I was trying to find something to hold double with it, and then I just didn't really want it anymore. So it did get used, it did live a life, and it will be appreciated. I think that's all I have for today. I am hoping that those socks will be done by the next time you hear from me. I don't promise though. As usual, this has been the longest video ever. I think it would be cool if everyone commented some of the things they have planned for 2024. Selfishly, I love to hear what you guys have planned because sometimes they're great and I add them into my own plans as well. There's a lot going on, so I'm not going to make this too long-winded. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you have it in your heart to like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!